It's nice to have a mug with your name on it.
It is. A lady I currently work for got it for me. I thought it was very sweet.
That is sweet.
Yeah.
Well, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy fucking New Year.
Yeah.
I love how everyone thought things are just going to change and like, which there is always a shift, but it's so, yeah. It's feeling the same.
Yeah.
How are you?
Doing good. Yeah. Doing good. Feeling motivated. So, yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So we're over here in on the Big Island for 6 weeks.
Oh, you're in Hawaii right now?
Yeah.
I'm hanging up right now. I'm mad.
Yeah.
Why did you not ask me to do an in-person one? And I could have flown there. No.
Right. We should have thought of that.
You're very selfish. Just kidding. You're the least selfish human I've ever met. Very giving and kind. I like to please people. So
yeah. Good. Well, yeah, Mary, thanks for taking the time to come on here and chat with me this morning.
Yeah,
I like to do these interviews with people, inspiring people who I know, who are in my life, who I want to connect with, who can share, what they're doing in the world, what their focus is, and just share wisdom, share knowledge, share inspiration, and just connect.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for creating a platform where people can do that because we need connection. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So for people that are going to be watching this interview, give us a short introduction of yourself, of who you are, what you do, what you're focused on. Keeping the theme of raw, your theme of raw, which we'll talk about as we get into this.
Yeah.
But I want you to bring your raw self.
There's always that. You can definitely usually count on that with me. And to some people it's offensive or not so fun or uncomfortable, but I think it helps people grow and it helps me keep myself in check too. But yes, working on a podcast called Raw, which it's not an acronym, but I guess it could be because at first I was like Real Authentic World. And because I just wanted people to connect on a community-based level. So it's for Vancouver/Clark County area. It's totally exploring our own unique citizens, like people that are entrepreneurs, kids who are doing great things in the community, people who have odd jobs that like you just don't know how things happen, and just exploring and being curious about it and kind of figuring out what like unites all of us in our own community. I feel like obviously like Chicago, like a city like Chicago would have a very different vibe and very different people to explore versus like Vancouver. But the idea is to create a template for every city to honor their own citizens, like have their own podcasts and just have like a way to like listen to each other and like know each other.
Cool.
That is the basis of it. So working on that, I have definitely a struggle of like, I get into it and then I'm like, oh, I don't deserve to like have this much fun and like do something that's really fun and enjoyable, which, because I'm used to a mindset like things should be hard and like, and if it's not hard, it doesn't feel normal. And I've had to have therapy around that in many ways because it's so taking a leap and like taking care of yourself is sometimes scary when it like is starting to work out. So that's been a struggle for sure and a roadblock for me, but I'm working through it. It's a new year. I have a really like not one person has said no to me when I'm like, would you be on my podcast? And like, this is a connection I have like with my cousin Sherman. He's one of the owners of Brothers Cascadia Brewing. And I've been supporting them since they were inception and having like beer tastings at friends' houses and stuff like that. And it's really cool to see them thriving and doing really well, but also trying to keep up with all this crazy demand when they're a small brewer. And so it's like people like that. And then like Brittany Kellogg is like a local singer, for example, and she was on American Idol, and she's been doing these community pop-ups since concerts aren't a thing. She'll like show up in a random, like, just community, set up her equipment and play her music for free, which normally you have to pay to see her. And she's just like, just people like that. I'm like, this is awesome. And I think I talked to you about like the I-5 bridge between Vancouver and Portland. Like, I don't know the person that operates that, but I really want to interview someone who has like a job like that, because I want to understand how it happens. Like, what are the calculations? Like, what is it?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's all about curiosity and like really wanting to know people. And I want it to be video and audio because it's fun to see people. It is such a small town. You know, I feel like you could walk down the street and be like, oh, I saw you on that, or I don't know. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And I love your vision of, doing it for your local community, but also expanding beyond and creating a platform and a format that everyone could do it for their community, for their city and area. So, yeah, that's really cool. Let it be easy.
I know. I think the part is the like how it pays for itself is local advertising. You know, it'll be like Bob's Landscaping Company, this, blah blah blah, and then But I mean, I'm sure we've talked about how we both listen to Joe Rogan stuff. Like his first 7 minutes of his podcast is like ads, and like shout outs to like, I wear these underwear and I do this, and
sure.
He does have one about underwear. I thought that was hilarious. I was like, wow. He's like, I'm wearing them right now. I was like, okay. And so it's like, and I worked for a venture capitalist firm, and they had a podcast, the owner did, every week, and he did like 3 of them a week. We made like 20,000 a week just in advertising, but it was like big names like Dell Computers or, other Amazon. It's like he had big advertisers because he's a multimillionaire, whereas this is much smaller and more concentrated. And I love that. Like I'm not in it to make money, but I do need it to sustain itself so it can be good for whoever is listening to it. But not inundated with ads. Like I hate ads. I don't know how you feel about it. Do you have ads on your podcast? Are you working on that?
Not at all.
Yeah, that's good. Maybe we don't sell our souls to that, actually. Let's talk about that. Are you on it, or are you thinking no?
I just feel neutral about it. I just haven't even thought about it. I'm just kind of, to use the term raw, I'm just kind of doing these interviews, kind of raw.
Mm-hmm. Not a lot of editing, like just letting it be natural and happen.
Yeah, and I have my guy, Sam, who he'll go in and he'll edit a little bit and whatever, but it's mostly just the interview. He puts a little intro and outro on it. And then we just put it up on the YouTube channel.
That's awesome.
And try to use keywords that'll bring people to the video. And just let it be up there. So over time, people start seeing this, library of interviews from videos. So more and more people start coming to the YouTube channel and seeing the work that I'm doing and seeing all the inspiring people that I'm connected with, and maybe, someone that they hear on the interview would align with them and they'll want to contact that person, or they even feel inspired by, a few words that person says and go on with their life. So I haven't even taken the steps or the thought to think, oh, how do I monetize this more as a podcast, or how do I put more ads in it? I'm just doing it. I'm just doing the interviews for content.
Well, and you've got all your other great things that you're doing to help people and heal people. So, I mean, you're a healer. So there's that too.
Yeah, it's all kind of playing into the whole, the whole piece of what my practice and my work is. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And why are you on the Big Island, may I ask?
We lived here for a while, a few years ago, and we have property here.
Wow. That's great.
And Kelly's dad passed away a couple months ago as well, so we're gonna go do a ceremony for him on Oahu at a veterans, like a veterans wall where they put your ashes in the wall.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Was that expected or was it,
We knew that we didn't know how much time he would have left. We thought there would be a few more years, but he ended up going.
yeah,
Um, it was pretty sudden. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm glad you're getting to take some time and be in a beautiful place to mourn that loss and just honor that. That's pretty great.
Yeah, and I had a goal earlier in the year. I had a goal. I was like, I want us to be in Hawaii for 1 or 2 months um, at the end of the year, like December, January.
Mm,
So we were able to make it happen. We're here for 6 weeks, just enjoying it. But then also we're like working on stuff constantly. So
mhm.
finding that, continuing to find that balance of, working on stuff constantly, having a constant to-do list with the property here and
Yeah.
um, still working from my computer, but then also just relaxing, being outside a lot.
Mhm.
So our son is loving it. He
Oh, I
just
can
loves it.
only imagine. It's like it's
So
paradise, it's like every kid's dream. There's sand and water and
yeah, so he's had his first ocean experiences. He just saw his first like big sea turtle yesterday.
oh my gosh.
Um, yeah,
That is amazing. That good for you for giving him that experience too. He won't forget
it's
that.
cool. My goal is my plan is that every year of his life we do some kind of trip with him and make sure he's like exploring the world. I want to take him all around the world. So this is his first big like world trip outside of Oregon and Washington.
That's incredible. That's a really good goal. That's inspiring me to want to do that with my girls. That
Yeah.
makes me want to do that.
Yeah.
But it's like it is so expensive to travel. It's so expensive. But you
It
can't look
is.
at it that way. It's like energy, right? You manifest it and it can happen.
Yeah, I know. I think about things like for him, we want to send him to things like Montessori school and we want to travel with him. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
fuck it. I'm going to make it happen.
Good for you.
I don't, I just like don't care. It's going to happen. We're going to make certain things happen for
Yeah.
him. And it's amazing how much a child is a motivator. Like,
Mhm.
so
Absolutely. Yep.
there's like, to me, there's like no question of certain things that are going to happen.
Yeah.
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 And so
I want my
that's a great
girls to
blessing.
Yes, I want my girls to experience, sound healing when you come back. I
Yeah.
really
Let's
feel
do
like
it.
they will love it. They're pretty disciplined, like, they'll do yoga with me, about 20 minutes in, like, they start kinda goofing off, but it's pretty good attention span for
How old are they again?
8 and 11.
Those are great ages.
My 11-year-old definitely is more focused, like, she, like, wants
Sure.
to go running with me now, and she can make it about a mile and a half with me, and then she's like, "I have a side ache." I'm like, "All right, we can walk, but you made it a mile and a half, we're good." And I go slow, like,
Yeah.
she's not a mile and a half at my pace, but it's good. Yeah.
I love those ages because they're just old enough to be excited to be able to do things and but they're not quite old enough to be too cool for school yet. So they're
Exactly.
like into it, they're focused. Like my jujitsu students, the kids, I would say between 8 and 11 are my best, most focused, enthusiastic students.
I think you're absolutely right. Like, yes, you love every phase. I love
Sure.
babies now, but babies are so hard.
Yeah.
All the
A lot
pooping
of
and
work.
peeing and all the training and like safety, like constantly worrying about their
Yeah.
safety and like them not understanding boundaries around safety. It is such a relief to have an 8 and 11-year-old now. It's like my 11-year-old set her alarm for 5 o'clock yesterday morning. She got up, got dressed, did her homework, and then my alarm went off at 6 and she came and crawled into bed with me and she's like, I've done my homework and studied my spelling words and done my social studies. And I'm just like, and then she had started breakfast, which was pancakes and like
Wow.
sausage and fruit. And I'm like, who are you?
Yeah.
It happens overnight. I'm not kidding. It's like all of a sudden they start becoming these self-sufficient little people. And it's like, oh, I really am here just to guide you. Like I never look at myself as owning my kids or like they're my children, which they are. But I just feel like I'm this blessed guide that they came into this, they chose me, and now we're all here together, and that's my job.
I've always felt the same thing. Yeah. So it's refreshing to hear you say that as well.
Yeah, not here to control them or like to shape them into like what I think they should be. It's just like letting them explore and test things, and we have a really good relationship because of it. I feel like it's pretty great. We're really
That's
close.
so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so awesome.
Not to say there's
Cool.
not drama. I mean, it's three ladies in the house. I feel like it'll get, but you get what you say, right? Like if people are like, oh, just wait till they're a teenager. I don't believe that at all. Like I've seen a lot of well-adjusted teens that are awesome kids that don't disrespect their parents, you know, but I remember what it's like. You think you're really grown up when you're a kid. You're like, oh, I'm 14. I can do this. When really it's,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, that's awesome to hear that perspective.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So share anything else what else are you focused on right now?
I've been thinking of a concept of like backwards moving forward. I feel like a lot of people last year had to, well, lose their jobs, first of all, which I was one of those people, and then have to restart again. And it's funny when you look at your own career, and like I have an education in PR and business and worked in economic development and worked for an architectural firm a couple years ago, and all of these like what you would call like great careers and great things. But now like working on the podcast is first, but now I'm having to like make ends meet and do whatever I can. So recently, like 3 weeks ago, Chrissy, Chrissy,
Yeah.
she was like, I have a friend, Tracy. She's owned this coffee stand for like 27 years and she's amazing. She needs somebody for like 20 hours a week. Would you want to do it? And she's like, she'll just like take good care of you. She's awesome. And she has like really oddly loyal customers. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. But I went and talked to her and she's so sweet and so great. And she's one of the best relationship builders and connectors I've ever seen in business. And I've done a lot of stuff in business. And I couldn't believe how, like, after 27 years for a coffee stand in Vancouver, I'm like, I didn't know they even existed 27 years ago. I'm like, what? And it's in this like ghetto parking lot with this grocery outlet, but it's not a grocery outlet. It's not even that nice. It's like this weird grocery store with like almost like spoiled food that they're selling. So it's in that parking lot. So there's kind of like an interesting level of characters that are always passing through. But then there's the customers that come through. Then we have like a pretty decent homeless population, which we have some good ones that we just give them free coffee because, they're sweet and kind and they don't cause any trouble. So you're like, here you go, Scotty, good to see you. So she just has this like beautiful relationship with people. So I started doing that 3 weeks ago and working like 4-hour shifts just for fun. But
Yeah.
it's been so nice to feel like I can connect with people again. I'm like, this is so fun. And when I was in college, I did customer service jobs like in a restaurant or at a golf course, like, and because you get tips and it makes more sense than doing something that just only pays minimum wage and you don't get anything else. And so, but it's crazy. You can work a 4-hour shift in this place and you get $100 in tips. Plus she pays way more than minimum wage. And it's just like, I don't know how she's doing this, but she's constantly busy and it's really fun. And it's helping me like kind of see like my ego at first was like, I'm not working in a coffee stand. I was
Yeah.
like, no, I can go out and get a big girl job. That's what I've had for years. And you can make more money that way. But then I was like, I really had to be introspective and like, is this fun? Does it make you happy? And the answer is like, yes, it is fun. It makes me happy. And it's like, is it allowing you the time to do and focus on things you really want to focus on while still providing you a source of income? Yes. So I'm like, so kind of like feeling at first like, oh, I'm moving backwards. Like I'm not being productive. And it's not true because now just from working there, I've gotten social media management accounts. Like I do that for businesses and people, like
Yeah.
manage social media and like help them with campaigns or whatever they want to do and guide them on how to like best utilize social media. And so
Mhm.
I've gotten 3 accounts from working there, which pays really well. And then what else was it? Gosh, there was something else that came from it. Oh, I do personal training. I'm not certified, but I've worked out for years. I worked with personal trainers, and I, on the side, have helped people like work out and get fit and like get healthier. And now I have like 3 customers there. And so I'm super busy.
Yeah.
And it's good. And it just, and then like, it's just like, oh, it's all about connection. It's all about like really like reaching out to people and talking to them, and in a way that's authentic. Like we talked about, like authenticity is what everyone wants. And so it's just funny that from working at this, when my ego was like, no, you're too good for this, which is so silly. No one's too good for anything. And it's just energy and a job. And now it's like, I have these like 6 other accounts from it just in 3 weeks. So I'm like, okay.
That's amazing. Just in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That
it's
is
just
so cool.
talking to people. And then people are like, oh, New Year's resolution. Like, I really need to get in shape, and I have a home gym. And I was like, I would love to come work out with you if you want. And I'm not asking them to pay me because it's fun for me. And they're like, oh, I will totally pay you to come work out with me. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Well, all right.
If you
Yeah.
want. I guess.
Yeah.
So it's nice. And it's all people that are really close to in my neighborhood. So the most I drive is like a mile and a half away. And the
Yeah.
hours are like that work with both of us and my kids. And it's been great. It's been good.
That's so cool. I hope anyone watching this really takes that in and really understands, like that's such a beautiful perspective and attitude to have. Just what you're sharing of just being willing to, okay, I'll go work a job in a coffee stand and be open and also be joyful about it. Like it sounds like, you know what, if I really feel into it, that would be fun for me.
Yeah.
And because you're following that joy, you're following that, intuitive guidance, all
Mm-hmm.
these things are opening up in a beautiful way that you didn't necessarily expect, that you couldn't have rationally planned yourself,
Yep.
right? So it's just like remembering to take that next step, even if you don't know what the one is following,
Mm-hmm.
take that one step at a time. So that's beautiful to see how you're doing that in a really powerful way.
Thank you for saying that. You're so eloquent, and how I couldn't have said that any better. Your insight is lovely. It's like, oh, am I doing that?
Yeah.
Nice to hear. I'm receiving it. Thank you.
Yeah. Do what you love, and the things
Hmm.
things
Yeah,
will
I
work
listened to
out in
the
those
podcast.
unexpected
Yeah.
ways.
The podcast you did all around that. I loved it. I was like, yes, yes.
Which one was that? Do you remember who that was with?
It was actually you on your own, and you were doing kind of like you were talking at the camera, you were outside.
Oh yeah. Oh
Walking
yeah. I
around,
was doing a video.
like,
Yep.
yeah, it was like it's kind of like figuring out your own career and like choosing happiness and like not choosing something that drains you of all
Yeah.
the energy, which who hasn't been in that kind of work?
Right.
I have found that if I go against my grain in that at all anymore, especially this stage in my life, like it's like do you remember the Care Bears? I don't know if you ever watched them.
Yeah. I don't know that I ever like sat and watched an episode, but I know
Like,
what you're
you're a
talking
guy, so
about.
I didn't
Yeah.
expect that. But
Yeah.
there's this episode where because Care Bears are very colorful and bright, and their world is very colorful and bright. Where in this episode, everything turns into black and white and gray. And like it's this devastating thing for the Care Bears, and everyone starts kind of dying because there's no light and color.
Yeah.
And that is how, like, that's what I picture when I have a job that I hate. It's like everything turns black, gray, and white, and there's no
Yeah.
color, there's no joy. And
Funny.
everyone's like not happy anymore in this little world too. They're just like,
Yeah.
how are you today? It's so funny.
Yeah.
I feel like those people were taking drugs that made that show, but it's all good.
I'm sure that's how they make it so great for kids, probably.
Exactly. Like Scooby Doo.
Yeah. And it's cool, and there's discernment, right? Because it's not necessarily like you were sitting around thinking your dream was to be a barista,
Yeah.
right? But
Oh,
you felt into it. You felt into it, then you went and connected with you followed that feeling in the moment. I think that's what it's really about. It's not about having these mental ideas of like, well, that's not my dream, I can't do that, or I'm
yeah.
above that, or that's not what I've been working towards. It's about what's that intuitive sense in the moment. If I feel into my gut about this, do I
Yep.
have a yes? Do I have a no? You
Mm-hmm.
know? And then if it's a no, well, then no, I'm not touching it. And it's not about worthy or unworthy. If someone asks me if I want to do a barista job, and in my gut I'm getting that everything's going black and white Care Bear scene, then I'm not going to go to it, right?
Right.
But you didn't have that, right? You had oh, this is interesting. This is, you know what? I'll try it. And then
Yeah.
because of that openness, things
Yeah.
are opening up. You're such a natural, like, I can just see you doing that too as well, working at that coffee stand. You're so like natural and naturally joyful and bubbly, and you can connect with everyone. And so I can really see how that would flow for you, um,
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, it's fun. It's actually fun. And thank you for saying that. it's
Yeah.
it's and again, I'm like watching a master of connection with the owner. She's just and I worked on Christmas Day actually, from 9 to 2. We were open, and we were one of the only places open. So we had a lot of new people and a lot of regulars too. And of course, we put on social media like we're open, and we kept pushing that, and that was good. But we were so slammed, it was crazy. But what
Wow.
was also awesome is people would come up and be like, "I want to pay for the next 7 cars behind me," and they just would hand over like $100 bill and be like, "I don't know how many people are in the car, how many drinks, so I'm going to guess it might be this," and
Wow.
keep the change. But then those people that received those drinks for free also were like, now I want to pay for this person. So keeping track of that all day was so chaotic. It was like, oh my God, because there's only like 2 of us and there's a window on each side. But at the time I was still pretty new. So I'm basically like a bar back. Like she's like, get me a cup of ice. Da, 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 da. And she's the one like making all the drinks or whatever. But now I know how to do everything. So it's good. But
Yeah.
it was super intimidating at first because it's like people are like, I would like a French kiss 24-ounce blended. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. So I made flashcards for myself at home and
Yeah.
like studied. I was like, what is this? But it was really cool to see people be so generous. It was so cool.
That's
And
amazing.
those are her
Yeah.
customers. Like, and they're all just these loyal, and you see the same people almost every day. And they just, they'll buy a $5 drink and tip you $3. Like they're just really nice. And I feel guilty. I was like, don't feel bad. Like they're being generous and they appreciate what you're doing.
Right. They do it because it makes them feel good.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And if you worked in service, you always have compassion for that. Even if I have
Right.
shitty service, I don't care. I'm not one of those people that's like, I'm not tipping them because they were shitty. No, it's like, you don't know what's going on in their life. Like, we
Right.
don't know what's going on. So, like,
Right. Yeah.
yeah. So give them a break. They're having a bad day. There you go. Or maybe they're an asshole, but I don't really care either way. You just have to be good. You have to be kind and compassionate.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old is your son now?
He's 18 months.
Oh my gosh. So are you thinking Montessori soon? Because I know a lot of people are like, when babies are like 2, they go to
Oh,
Montessori.
yeah. I don't know exactly when. We haven't talked about exactly when, but
Have you looked at Waldorf education at all? I know
yeah.
Monica's really into it too.
Yeah,
Uh,
we've looked into it some. We've learned about it from friends who have their kids in a Waldorf school.
mhm.
And I haven't gone deep into research, and maybe I need to do a little research. So far, what I've learned, I would rather have them in Montessori.
Yeah. Well, Montessori is more accredited, right, than Waldorf. Like Waldorf isn't I think you have like a GED when you graduate from high school in a Waldorf school, whereas like
Oh, really?
Montessori is accredited.
Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah.
So I think, don't mark my words, I could be wrong, but I think from the research I did before, which those schools are not cheap at all, but they're so much better than what's going on.
Yeah. And I don't want to talk bad on Waldorf by any means. They're both very amazing, enlightened systems. Rudolf Steiner I have a big respect for, like amazing genius and innovation, and
Yeah.
these whole systems of farming and education. I mean, that's massive, to just be able to create systems of farming and living on the land, and a whole education and schooling system. That's like huge endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
There are just some things I just in the Waldorf school. There's a lot of bullying,
Really? I was not aware of that. Tell me more.
and I don't know if it's in all of them. And I don't know if there's a Waldorf educator that watches this. Forgive me if I misspeak, but maybe you can take something away from this as well, or maybe you don't care what I say. But it's the perspective of the Waldorf teachers. Like, we had our friends who they have multiple adopted children. They send them to the Waldorf school,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of bullying happening. And then when they brought the bullying to the attention of the teachers, the perspective of the teachers is that it's the kids karma to work it out together, so the adults just stay back and don't interrupt the bullying and say it's the kids karma to work it out.
Whoa.
And I'm like,
Mm-mm.
it's the adults karma to step in and support and give guidance. Like, that's why you're there. So that was like a little too loose for me, that aspect. And that's the important aspect. If there's like,
Mm-hmm.
and of course you need to do more, a lot of bullying and a lot of kind of craziness, and like being too loose with the kids. So
Mm-hmm.
if anyone watches this and wants to contact me and correct me, that's fine. But
Mm-hmm.
there were just some very enlightened perspectives about Waldorf that I've learned, that I really appreciate, that I love how they teach the kids about all the different world religions, and how they teach kids about, really, just, I would just say, more enlightened, holistic perspectives on
Yeah.
learning and being
It's,
themselves. But then
yeah.
there were some ways of the dynamics with the kids and the teachers and the bullying that
Mhm.
was like, I don't want my kid around that. I want
No.
adults that are going to have, I want adults that are going to have a discerning way of working with the kids and helping them work things out and intervening when the time is right. So,
Mhm. No, I think that's perfect. And I was not aware of that. So thank you for sharing that, because that would be a huge deterrent for anyone to
yeah,
because you want to protect your children. You don't want them to be bullied. Like my daughter Sunira had a bully a couple of years ago, which now it's her really good friend, which I'm like,
sure.
but she's a pretty fragile person. I think she has a pretty difficult home life from when she's had sleepovers here. She kind of has talked about like what her environment is. It's like a 2-bedroom apartment with lots and lots of animals. There's 6 kids, one mother. They all have to share space in this tiny little
Wow.
apartment.
Yeah.
So, but she would like push my daughter down on the bus, like onto the floor and like hit her. And I like immediately, and they go to private school. They go to this Seventh Adventist school in Meadowglade, and it's kind of a battleground. Um, and I'm advocating this is the last year they're going there, because half of their homework is like biblical homework, and then my daughter's science book is called Science by Design, and it's all like integrating like God and Christianity into actual science, and it's like not true. The approach, like I was looking through the book, and like the level of rage and fire that like was ignited in me when I looked at it and was reading it, I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Wow.
I was ready to throw it on the burn pile in the backyard. And Sunira's like, don't burn my book. I'm like, I'm not going to burn it. I'm just really upset right now. And I was
Yeah.
like, you've got to be kidding me. And so I'm hoping my daughter Sunira can get into the Vancouver School of Arts and Academics, which is 2 blocks from my house.
There you go.
And
Yep.
it's not a private school. It's part of Vancouver Public Schools, but it is an arts school. And she's in dance. She plays guitar. She loves to sing. Like she's way more into that than she is other things. But it's an accredited high school. I mean, it's public school. So they do have to do math and science and all that other stuff. But this school lets them, like, it's totally arts focused. And she loves to draw too. Like, I have this room in my basement, and I redid my basement this year because, it's last year because I had a lot of time on my hands with not having a job. And I saved one room and I didn't redo it because it's so special to them. We called it the creepy room because it's like this, it looks like a wall, but the only reason it's not just a wall is it has like a padlock lock on it, which I don't have the padlock on there, but you open it and it's like this room that for kids is magical because it's just has a bunch of weird stuff in it, and they just organized everything, and they can paint and draw on the walls as they need to or want to because I don't care. And so for Christmas this year, they got so much paint and so many like artistic tools because that whole room is like a canvas to them. They just are like down there, and that's their favorite place with their friends, is like they hang out in this room that like before was like not a fun place, like spiders, and but we cleaned it out and now it's this great place. And they've decorated it with lights and like all kinds of things hanging from the ceiling because there's like pipes everywhere.
Uh-huh. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, education is a funny thing right now. It's just not, it's so disappointing because it doesn't create a whole person. It's just, when I look back, I don't know, I want to hear how your perspective is. Like, I didn't learn anything. Like, I learned how to be quiet and sit there and do the work and memorize things. That's
Right.
my greatest memory of school, is memorization. It's not like I had these really great, like, and connections too. Of course, friends. Like, friends are a big deal to kids, and
Yeah.
that connection, that is a memorable experience. But like overall, like the actual like content, I I didn't learn anything. I had to learn
Right.
it after school. How was your experience as a kid?
Similar.
Yeah.
My experience was I was put into a classroom and adults talking to me about completely uninteresting things, you know.
How
And
did you,
then
were you a rebellious kid? Why do I feel like you were?
yeah. Well, and then I get the peer influences, right? The peer influences are so strong for kids. So I kind of got peer influences that was like combined with, I think I enjoyed school earlier on
Mm-hmm.
and I tried to do well, but then I think I hit about second, third grade. I didn't like being there. I started getting more of an influence from kids or like, you know, bullying the smart kids and thinking all of, um, really putting people down. And so then I sort of fell into more of the tougher crowd and like, you know, not, it's cooler to be rebellious. It's cooler to not do your homework or not listen to the teacher or, be wild. So then from then on, I did minimal to get by in
Mm-hmm.
school and I hated school. And um, then by the time I was 13, it was just like drinking and smoking and being out late and, you know, getting in fights and all that good stuff.
It's so funny from knowing you now, like as an adult, because I didn't know you then. Like, I guess it's funny. My intuition told me you probably were like that, but at the same time, it's like you have such a beautiful, gentle, like spirit that is like you make everyone, like when you enter a room, you have this calming, like very special gift of like centering people and grounding them. And so it's funny to me that you had this childhood experience that it was like this wild smoking, drinking. But
Yeah,
that's why you're the way you are now, because you got to understand it.
yeah, I kind of get that a lot from people. It's like, really? I'd say from 13 to 21, I feel like I drank enough for a lifetime. And then when I was 21, right after my 21st birthday, while a lot of people were excited to go to the bars, I was quitting drinking.
Oh, have you been sober ever since?
Not 100%. I
Yeah.
basically, just a quick share. When I was 21, I quit drinking for a year because I was sick of myself. And
Yeah.
we had been able to go to our local bars since we were younger anyway, so it wasn't that special to me. So We were
Where
by
did
the
you
time
grow up?
in Seattle. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we got away with a lot. We
Yeah.
were seniors in high school going to the bars and
Mhm.
going to the store and buying whatever. We had these really high quality fake IDs. Um, and then local people knew us and we knew the store to go to, the little like mini mart that didn't card anyone.
Mhm.
And then if we ran out of money or it was late at night and we didn't know where to go, I would just go steal beer from the 7-Eleven or the Safeway. I was like, okay, guys, don't worry, I'll be right back. And then we go,
Did you ever get caught?
no,
No.
I would just
How would you
grab it.
steal it? You just grab it and run out?
Yeah. I remember I was like 17 going on a streak of it at the 7-Elevens, and I would just calmly walk to the fridge door, open it, take out a 24 pack, calmly walk to the counter, and right as I would get to the counter, then I would sprint out the door.
You must have been fast. They're like, again, really? Come on,
And then
Andrew.
it's kind of the classic scene. Then you have like this older guy he runs out the door and, you kids, and I'm just sprinting away around the corner to the car.
It's like a movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
pretty funny.
same thing with like the grocery store. But
Mhm.
the grocery store, we could just walk in. Like if it's like 2 a.m. at a 24-hour Safeway, I would just walk in and grab a 24 pack and calmly walk out.
Yeah.
It's
Like, oh,
like,
I bought this. No one's checking.
yeah. So anyway, yeah.
So, do you drink or do any drugs now?
Oh yeah. So when I was 21, I quit drinking for about a year. And then from like 22 to 25, I was like, okay, you know what? I want to ease back in, hang out with friends, kind of discovering like good beer, like micro brews and like more a little high quality rather than getting crazy on like OE and Coors Light. And
Which is like water, Rainier.
yeah. And then when I was 25, um, I just remember I was with my cousin and I was in Brooklyn and we were just having like a wonderful night. We got kind of drunk and I sat there and I realized it was the last time I was going to get drunk. Like while I was drunk, I was sitting there in a bar with him, just feeling really good. It was totally like a positive night with him.
Yeah,
And I was like, this is the last time I'm going to get drunk.
that's
I'm going
awesome.
to, I'm going to enjoy this.
Yeah.
And it has been so far. So that was good 8 years ago. Um, And so for 6 years, I didn't have anything.
Hmm.
For 6 years, I didn't drink anything or smoke anything. But now in the past couple of years, I've come back to like, I really love beer. So I'll just have a beer here and there. But now it's like this more balanced relationship where before I was the guy of like, once I had one, I couldn't stop. Right. But now, I have a beer and I don't want to have more than a beer. It's just like a nice thing. So
Yeah. Do you smoke marijuana or eat it or
I
mushrooms,
don't,
anything
I
like that?
don't,
Yeah.
I don't, I've done plenty of my own journeys and, experimentation with mushrooms and LSD. But
Hmm.
that was also a long time ago.
Hmm.
Um, and I worked with ayahuasca really intensely for a number of years, but that's also been a few years since I've been
Wait,
in that.
where did you go do ayahuasca? I've only done it 2 times, so I'm curious.
All around Oregon and Washington, Canada, and I went to Peru twice, and then out here in Hawaii. Um, yeah,
It's a really intense experience, to say the least. It's it's medicine. I definitely feel like
yeah,
it's medicine, but I don't have the desire to I don't it's not calling to me to do it again. And I don't know how you feel about it, but it's whew, it
well, yeah,
yeah.
that's a beautiful thing about it is if you're in tune, right, with yourself and with that medicine
Hmm.
and with spirit in general, you're gonna know when it calls to you, when you feel that that motivation is there. And
Mm-hmm.
then if you seek it out, it's going to meet you and come to you, and it's going to be in the flow. That's what my experience was, and that's what I see is pretty much everyone's experience. And then for some people, you do it once, you do it twice, and you're like, there's really no desire to do it again. Some people will do it lots of times. And then
Oh,
like for me, I probably, I probably um, sat with ayahuasca about 65-ish times
oh my
in the
God.
time that but then I had this time again, it was kind of like the drinking. I was sitting there and I was like, I think this is going to be my last ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't had the desire to sit since.
And it is a beautiful thing. It's just, yeah, you do have to, like you said, your spirit has to be called to it. It has to feel right. And
Yeah, it's
what,
like the right everyone's got, the medicine
yeah.
that is the right fit for them. It was definitely a right fit for me for a
Mhm.
long time, but now it's been at least 3 years I've sat with that medicine
Yeah.
because it just felt like I was like I couldn't find a reason to do it again.
Yeah. Because
You know,
did you feel like the medicine like allowed you to heal from a lot of things that you were seeking?
definitely,
And so you're
definitely.
like, okay, now I feel like I don't need it anymore.
Incredible healing, incredible teachings,
Mm-hmm.
um, just from the totality of the experience that goes far beyond before and after the ceremony itself. I feel like
Yeah.
that. I feel like
I
that
was just
teacher.
amazed at how, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying. I feel like that teacher is with me always now. It's integrated.
It is.
I'm never separate from it. And um, it's interesting though. Being here now on the island, I've kind of had the thoughts of like maybe I'd want to do a little sit
Mm-hmm.
because I've done it several times now where I've just sat by myself,
Oh,
like I'm just
wow.
out and I just drink it by myself, kind of out in the jungle.
So
I mean,
no
I'm
guide.
inside. Yeah, no guide. I'm inside. I'm in a room. I'm in a like place, but I feel more, if I was going to do it now, I feel more excited about, um, that's the right thing for me is just like sitting by myself with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I am doing a men's retreat later this spring out to the Big Island.
You
And
are.
I am going to have them. Yeah, I'm going to set up an ayahuasca ceremony for them though. So that's going to be cool.
I'm so jealous. Could I dress up as a man and wear a wig and come?
Well, if I get enough interest, I'll do other ones where it's men and women. It's just the initial one. I'm going to start an annual one called the Big Island Men's Retreat. And
I love that. I love that. I feel like you have such a good connection with like divine feminine and masculine. Like you have such a good balance, and I'm sure you've had to do a shit ton of work to get there. But I could see you teaching men a lot of amazing things, like in being like men and like allowing them to be themselves.
yeah, I appreciate that. That's one of my main focuses now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know a guy that went to a men's retreat in Oregon somewhere, and it was like a week, and they're like kind of naked most of the time.
Nice.
And it's very Native American and tribal, but it's working through like my friend Jason. It's my friend Elisa's husband did this, and he had a lot of like unworthy things because he was like the unwanted kid. His parents got pregnant super when they were older in their 40s and they didn't want him, but they ended up having him because of their religious beliefs. And so his whole childhood he felt, and his dad is like a screamer and a yeller and like really abusive. And so he had all these things that he wanted to work through as an adult finally. And he said that I love this story so much. He was like, because it was like 40 men and they would all have to hold on to this pole together at the end of the night and they were all naked. And he's like, he saw this big black dick like flop on his forearm because he was kind of lower on the pole. And he was like, all right.
Yeah.
He didn't care. He was like, that's how I knew like I was finally comfortable in myself and like my skin and like being with these men and like we're all like working through really tough stuff and supporting each other. And I was like, that is awesome. I will never forget that story because I think it's funny, first of all.
Yeah. I mean, that's great. It's great when we have these indications where we're free from a charge that was there before.
Yeah.
Right? Something that, another man's dick flopping on your arm in the situation,
Not your average situation.
before, that would cause like a whole cascade of like not okayness, right? Discomfort. But then it's like, oh,
It
that's
was
fine.
like, we're all
Yeah.
holding onto the same pole and
I love that.
all
Yeah. I love that. Like,
but yeah, if
okay,
someone came and did that to you right now, you'd probably freak out a little bit.
healing achieved.
Yeah. So
And the humor is beautiful too, all the, that's
it is. And he has a great sense of humor. And my friend Elisa and him, they have a great relationship. And it's funny because they actually were dating for like 2 months and then she got pregnant. And they were like, she's from a strict Seventh-day Adventist home. And I was her first phone call. She was like, Mary. So I was like, oh, you can be fine. Like, what do you need? What kind of support do you need? Any decision you make, I'm here for you. And they're plugging away many years later, 2 kids now and beautiful family. Just, you never
That's
know.
amazing. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love spending time with them. Good friends are sometimes hard to find. I know I lost a lot in my divorce. Like I thought I had this good network and then that fell away.
Wow.
And now like the last few years from actually Susan's whole thing when I first met you, that circle of women has been my foundation since like 3 years ago. So yeah, I feel like I finally found my tribe that like loves
So
me, accepts me,
yeah,
I don't have to worry about being judged and that's a really important thing.
right. That easy fit, that natural fit in a community, which is so incredibly valuable and
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Mary, I could jam with you and chat with you all day.
I
We're
know.
winding down. We have a few minutes left before I have to get to my next session here.
Yeah.
But before we go, you and I, um, we did a session or two
We did one session.
together. We did one session recently.
Yep.
And I would just love to hear just like a 1 or 2 minute share of, that work that I do is under, the methodology and the philosophy that I follow is accelerated evolution. I
Mm-hmm.
utilize the accelerated evolution methods and philosophy, which is what I'm trained in, to work with people, to work with my clients, to make um, profound transformation. You overcome some of your biggest internal struggles,
Mm-hmm.
internal and external struggles, on the path to living the life you want to live, achieving the goals you want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to hear just a 1 or 2 minute share on what that session we did for you. What was good about it for you? What was supportive about it for you?
So the obvious first part is your presence is so soothing and calming, like you are a true healer. So that makes it very easy to connect with you and allow you into a space within anybody that you're working with. Like there's just this immediate comfort level, but it felt kind of like storytelling. It felt like you were helping me end really bad stories I've been telling myself for a long time. And from that session, I was able to block out stories that don't serve me any longer. And it's just like, because you had me repeat this phrase about myself that I was believing, and then you helped me dismantle that through all of this work you were doing, which I've never had that kind of work done. And it's not tapping, but it's almost like it's a way to like you can describe it better than I can, but I just felt like energetically it started moving and shifting all of those stories I was telling myself about this topic, which was like unworthiness and like not being worthy of something and not being valuable and not trusting my intuition. And like I feel like in one session, like it was like this kind of like pixelated like dismantling. It was almost like, you think of like glass and then like the glass is shattered and it just like started like falling. And it was like, but then behind the glass was like this beautiful new version of like what I actually am, which was already there. And that's the vision I had. Like after weeks of our meeting, I was like, oh, like I can
Wow.
finally see myself and look at myself. And it's not that pixelated view. It's like a very clear picture of who I really am. And I can't thank you enough for that. And I still want to work with you more because I know there's more. I love to go deep and be vulnerable. So
Thank you for that share, Mary. Amazing. And, I want to thank you for just your dedication to your own process, to your own work. That's what we have to do, is that ongoing dedication to
yeah,
growth, to our own evolution, to how we're. So that's what I love about you, is just you're so dedicated to that ongoing work, that ongoing journey, that ongoing joy
thank
in your
you.
life.
Hasn't
So
been easy to get to this.
no,
Yeah.
no, it's not. But that's how we develop strength.
Yeah. And
So
thank you for sharing. I feel like I know more about you now with your childhood and all your wildness, and like then choosing all these different paths to be this beautiful person you are. But you wouldn't be who you are without all that other stuff.
yeah, that's a part of me. So, and still, I'm still developing that relationship to that wild side of myself. And how do I free that up in a beneficial way, as opposed to a destructive way? Because I
Yeah.
think that's a big thing. All men have that wild side. All people have the wild side, but there's a particular way men have a wild side, right? It often comes out destructive
Yeah.
because it doesn't
Yeah.
have
It's
the
a very
right guidance
primal,
or
I think it's a
example.
very primal thing.
Yeah. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
like I said, we could jam all day.
I know. I'm sad for us to leave.
Yeah. Well,
Thank
you're
you.
awesome, Mary. Thank you so much for taking the time to
Thank
connect. And part
you.
of this is too, a chance when I do these interviews, every time I get to know the person more that I'm connecting with. I get to know my friend or my mentor or my colleague or, my community member more when we do these interviews.
I
And
definitely consider you a very good friend.
likewise, Mary. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, all right. Well, you have a beautiful rest of your day.
You too. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you so much for this.
Hey, thanks for watching this interview. I hope you feel uplifted and inspired by what was shared. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel to make sure that you see all the other awesome videos that we have coming up.